Hi everyone and welcome to another hashtag Ask Jim, and we're up to episode number 27 and we're back in the office tonight. The last three we've had franchisee training and the conferences happening, so we've had to take a lot of questions from the people there, which have been great. So tonight we're going to be answering with Jim and Dan, we'll introduce in a minute, your questions. So this is a great time tonight. Leave your comments and questions in the live feed on the Jim's Group page. If you're watching via the other pages, jump onto the Jim's Group page, put them in there, and we'll definitely get to them tonight. So I just want to go through a few things before we get started and introduce our guests tonight. The Jim's Group has a podcast called the Jim's Cast. All these audio replays go up there. Jim's Ethos is on there. Some great interviews, so check out the Jim's Cast on iTunes, Spotify, and everywhere else. Also, we all have our social accounts, so Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, which is Jim's Group the official. And we've got a competition running at the moment. So I don't know if Jim was aware of this, but we found some vintage Jim's retro merch with the big flappy hats at the back. So we've got them running. So there's 5 of them available via Instagram. So if you head over to the Jim's Group Instagram page, follow the competition details, and win one of these. These are exclusive. I don't think we're making these again. So, did you wear these in school when it was sunny? They make you play hat?
No.
We used to be.
We weren't PC back in those days. We were tough, just exposed to the elements. What
about you, Dan? Back in the day,
it looks exactly the same as the one I wore in school. Yeah.
Yeah, when you were a cool kid, you had to tuck the flap up.
That's
you had
it,
the
mate.
flap out.
Yeah.
You weren't cool, but the flap up, you were cool.
I can't believe how prissy everything is these days. My kids, they're not even allowed to. My 10-year-old can't even wrestle at school. I mean, if you can't wrestle, and what's the point?
British Bulldogs was a great game.
Yes.
So
and they want to play football. They have to have special safety gear. It really bugs me.
I think we're getting a bit soft.
Wrap kids in cotton wool. You can't build a generation. You've got to get out there and be a gardener and mow lawns and do real manly stuff. If you don't let them be proper kids.
So there we go. So I'll keep going. All right, so top fans as well. So we have a lot of top fans on the page. So thanks to those 5 top fans. On Facebook, the more you interact with the page, you get this nice little badge, little diamond thing, top fans. We've got around 5 or 6, which we're going to show on the screen in a minute. As always, we've got our books, these 3 at the front here, for questions and comments on the live feed. They'll be signed by Jim. So make sure you leave a question or comment in the live feed, and we'll get to as many as possible, especially for Dan as well. And we'll get to Dan in a little minute, but we'll go keep going. From last week, we had the Jim's 45 challenge. So Haydar is doing his weight loss challenge, and Ali is as well. And we've committed to going out there on the 25th of September on a Wednesday night to the Jim's cleaning office, which is in Broadmeadows, and everyone is welcome there. So they can be from the mowing franchisees, dog wash, test and tag, whatever. Jim will be at the meeting. So the franchise meeting will be that night live streamed. So come out on the 25th of September, and Haydar will be doing his big reveal there, and looking forward to it. And keep tuning on the page.
So the Jim's 45 challenge, he's going to lose 45 kilos.
Maybe not 45 kilos, but he's got 45 days to do as much as he can until the reveal. So we want to see how he goes. So we're posting photos and regular updates when we can.
Well, I should hope so. Haydar, if you're watching, we want you to thin down a bit. He's swelled quite a lot since he took over the clean division. Done a great job, but he's not looking like in great shape.
And thanks to Matt Kavanagh, who's a mowing franchisor and cleaning franchisor, who's helping him out. And we also have the Franchising Expo on the 24th and 25th of August in Melbourne here at the Convention Centre.
Yep.
And you'll be doing a talk and a book signing there.
1 o'clock, yeah.
1 o'clock, and we have mowing, security, and antennas have a stand there, so come there and meet Jim. And before we get into it, you'll see this poster behind us. If you're following our social accounts today, you saw a picture of Jim holding Your Empire Needs You with Darth Vader up there, so we know how Jim loves his villains in Star Wars. So I just wanted to show you something that the boys whipped up, Ben and Jake, real quickly. So they'll be on the screen.
All right.
Not a bad one. That can be our franchise.
I think I look just about as grim and evil as Darth Vader, I reckon, if you look at that.
So there we go. Jim's Empire Needs You. So if you're thinking about buying a franchise, just come along. But what do you reckon of the Photoshop? It's not a bad one.
Not bad.
Not bad.
I see a lot of Uncle Sam in
it. It is a little bit, yeah. So it's a great job by Ben and Jake there for doing that, so appreciate it.
Buy a franchise or we'll unleash the force on you.
There you go, you heard it first. All right, now let's get into our guests. So Dan Cahill is from Jim's Mowing in Chelsea, is your territory.
Yep.
And the reason why I wanted Dan on is I met you at the trade day and I heard you speak about gyms, and I was just like how passionate you were. Then when I asked you how old you were, I couldn't believe it. You're 25.
Yeah. And
you were telling me off camera how well you've done in your first. I just couldn't believe it in terms of the figures. But I'll let you get into it. And I just want to start off with this. You might be a bit well known. You might have seen your trailer. You flipped your trailer in the early days, and it went viral. It was on the Daily Mail, and maybe you want to tell us a bit about that, but then you start with gyms and all that sort of stuff.
The trailer incident wasn't my best moment. I was still pretty new to learning how to drive the trailers, and so I'm down on Frankston Cranbourne Road trying to do a U-bolt, and the car in front of me, they were doing a U-turn up the road as well. And so I thought, oh, you know what, I've got a bit of time to make this. You know, they won't be here for X amount of time. So I did a U-turn, but they've obviously put the foot down a lot more than what I was anticipating. So I've tried to correct it and hop into the right lane.
Yep.
And yeah, one thing led to another, and the trailer's over, and the ride-on's out of the trailer, and all my gear's out, and you know, I'm stuck in the middle of the road. I'm lucky that the trailer actually came back up and stayed where it's supposed to be, and nothing major was damaged. And a whole bunch of people at this bus stop right next to it were just standing there looking at me. And I'm out of the car, and I'm like, you know, my ride-on's in the middle of one lane, my trailer and my car, and I'm just like, what the bloody... But yeah, so I was really a little bit upset that no one came over to help me, because I was standing, you know, probably 10 meters away.
They're probably taking the video and filming it. And
I think so, yeah. So yeah, I just, you know, put the wheel back on the ride-on as best I could, and you know, I'd broken a few things. Put the ramps on, put it up, got into the next service lane, and then got my sledgehammer out and my crowbar and that, and you know, went into it and did a little bit of panel beating, and I was at the next job within 5 minutes. No kidding.
Really?
Yep. I didn't stop.
Wow, a lot of commitments to the cause. So how long was that into your career as a Jim's Mowing business owner?
I was probably only doing it for about 3 months or something like that.
Yeah.
Someone will correct me. They'll find the video,
Cool.
but I wasn't in it for that long.
Okay. So tell us about now how you're going as Jim. So how long have you been in it for so long? So 18 months, is it roughly?
About 18 months now. So I started at the end of February, start of February. And so when I wanted to get into it, there was a few things going in my mind. You know, what franchise should I choose, and am I making the right decision? It's very nerve-wracking, especially when, you know, you're spending your hard-earned money and you want to make sure it works out for you. And so, you know, I did my due diligence and had a look at it, and it just seemed like the right move to me. I've always had this thing where if something feels right to me, there must be a reason. And so I'd seen the amount of unserviced work, and I saw that, and it was like opportunity, and I couldn't say no to it. And so it wouldn't leave me alone, and I said, no, I'm doing it. I'm going full out.
So was the unserviced work the thing that sold you?
The unserviced work is,
right.
Yeah. So look, that's something that got me over the line, but there was also a number of different things. So one of the big reasons of why I wanted to join gyms and have my own business was because I had a pretty bad run with bosses recently coming up to that, and I didn't really want to have another boss where I felt like, you know, they didn't really know what they were doing. It was a bit of a power struggle or whatever. And so I was like, you know, I reckon I can be a better boss than you. And so in my mind, I was like, I'm gonna give it a crack, and I'm gonna see if I can do it. And the other reason was because I was stuck at Macca's for about 7 years and doing overnight shifts, and I was a manager. And you know, you feel when you're stuck there and you've only got 5 customers coming through the door for that 8-hour shift, you kind of think, you know, what am I doing? You know, no one really knows about me. I'm not making any effect on anyone's life. And another thing was I wasn't spending any time with my daughters or my wife as well, because I was working all the time. And so I just said, you know what, when was the last time that I was truly happy working? And I figured out that it was actually when I was working with my wife, you know, 5-6 years prior to that. And so I made the decision. I said, I want to work with my wife again. And that's where it all came down to, yeah. So she's now full-time doing all my admin for me. And we're doing really well, I think.
Yeah, that's really great to hear. So I've got a comment here. So I'm going to get through a few comments and questions. So we want to acknowledge the people on the feed. So Jill Smolensky from Jim's Dog Washing New Zealand is tuned in. So people watching over the ditch. Jill and Kim have tuned in again. Shane Baggett from Jim's Mowing's tuned in again and said hi. Now I've run down here as well on the live feed questions. Stuart Rainbow's tuned in, who's your franchisor.
Hey Stu, how are you, mate?
Liz Tenhooven's gone, where can I get one of the bears? We can talk to Sylvia, Liz, in the office if she can organise those bears. We always get questions about the bears. Jason Pollock is a pool care franchisor, has gone watching from Fiji. So thanks for watching from Fiji. We've had Cyprus with Haydar. We've had Fiji now with Jason. Haydar Hussein's tuned in and saying hey. G'day, Haydar. And Heather Campbell said good luck, Haydar. Stuart Rainbow, good looking rooster in the high vis tonight. Now, Roger Bennett, does that name ring a bell at all? Someone called Roger Bennett?
Oh, maybe.
Someone's gone, hi Jim, Joel and Dan, Mr. 300k Cahill.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've obviously spoken to Roger at some point.
Right, so maybe do you want to talk about how you're doing in your first year's business, what you're doing and all that sort of stuff?
Yeah, no worries. So, look, me coming into the business, I brought a lot of the things that I learned from running a store at Macca's, and same with my wife. And we knew that we needed to set a goal and have a game plan before we did anything. So before we signed up with gyms, we sat down and we said, what are we going to do? How are we going to do this? And so we had our goals, and our goals were basically to build our business by, I think at the point it was something like one new regular a week or something like that.
Okay.
And
Which is very modest, actually.
yeah, so that's where it kind of started. And yeah, so I set these goals, and then I realized as I was, about 6 months in, I've smashed these goals, and I've done a lot more than what I was expecting. So I was like, you know what, let's up it and change the benchmark. And so I think I was bringing on even two regulars a week or something like that. And some weeks there'd be weeks on and off where you'd bring on 5, or you bring on 3, or you bring on 4, or whatever. And so it all came down to what I think is just talking to the customer. That's what I think really did it for me. So every single time I've gone out and I've quoted a job, before I've given them a quote, or before I've got down to business, I kind of want to know about that customer, because I feel like everyone's got a story, and I want to know about a bit more about this person to kind of build a relationship with them and a bit of a rapport. And yeah, so I've done that, and it's worked out really well for me, and I've made some really good relationships with some really good customers. And I've got customers out there where instantly, it doesn't matter how long you know them for, you're instantly like best friends. I can't really explain it. It's like you're the same kind of person. And one of those people, I was very lucky when I was first starting out, was this lovely lady by the name of Jessica in a suburb over to me. So she needed someone to do the cleaning, and I was talking how I always do, and she loved me, and we clicked, and it was like instant best friends. And I ended up later on finding out, after I went there the second time, that she was a famous basketballer's wife by the name of Andrew Bogut.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Right.
no kidding. So
Man, yeah.
I had met him the first time as well, and didn't know who he was.
You
'cause
know
I
who he was?
No, didn't know who he
Man,
was.
I'm a massive NBA fan. I would have been older.
All I knew is that every time he got under the door, he had to duck right down and get right through it. And no, he's a good bloke, and we got talking about the business and investing in that. He's very big into that as well, and he gave me a few ideas. And
Andrew Bogut did.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
And so
Did you give him a Jim's mowing hat so he can get on?
I probably should, to get him representing.
I'm going to give you a bunch of merch after this. Andrew Bogut. I'm going to give you a bunch of merch. Please give it to Mr. Bogut.
Yep.
And courtesy of us.
No, and so after that kind of showed me, you know what? I want to find out exactly who my customers are, because everyone's got a story, and I wouldn't have known if I didn't talk to that person. And so now I've got a fair few jobs that I do for Andrew Bogut.
Wow.
Because he invests in property. So and they're very helpful, and they're brilliant. And as I said, we're all like best mates. They've asked me to bring my kids over, and they got me a baby shower gift. So they got us a new bassinet, and we're very close. Yeah.
And that just shows you the attitude you have, though. Like you never know where clients go, because I know a lot of mowing guys, or a lot of maybe gyms people in general, turn off the once-off jobs, for example. Right? They only want the regulars. Whereas you never know. You just never know who you're going to be dealing with or what's...
Never know at all.
And I asked you, I was talking to you a bit before the show to sort of find it a bit more. And that's the first time I've heard that. So I'm quite wrapped in actually Star Trek myself. That's great. You're going to do
So if you go to once-off mowing client, for example, how often would you turn that into a regular? He went to 10 once-off mowing jobs.
Well, believe it or not, I reckon once-off is the reason why I was able to build my business so fast at the start. Because no one else in my region was really touching the once-off, and that's why we had so many unserviced jobs. And I was able to basically convert, I reckon, about 40 to 50% of those to regulars. And so, as I said, it was all about talking to them, getting to know them, building a rapport, and then saying, do you want your weekends back? Because I'm your man.
That's great.
That is my experience too.
Yep.
I don't get this distinction between regular and once-off. Maybe regulars are slightly more likely to go regular, but quite often people ask for regular when they only want once-off, they want a better price.
Yep.
And if you look after a once-off mowing job well, they often turn into a regular.
I actually got 2 once-offs today that turned into regulars as well. Yeah. It happens that often, you would not believe. And I reckon a lot of guys are just too scared to go out there and meet new people and go through that quoting situation. They stick with the business they've got, and I reckon get out there and you can really build your business. I don't really have an hourly rate as to say, so I quote per job, so I can see all the edges, and I just...
So if a job's going to take you half an hour to do, what would you quote on it?
If it's going to take me about half an hour, look, most of those 650 square blocks are probably about half an hour's work, which is about $65.
Okay.
So But that's how I do it. But as I said, it does vary on lawn type, what time of the year it is. Like it's not going to grow as much if it's during winter, and that's for the one-softs obviously. But yeah, there's a fair few different things that you got to think about when you're doing that quote.
So when you first started in the early days, did you follow the system strictly? Like obviously we'd say do this,
Yep.
do this, and some people might not follow that and might come in a bit of trouble. But did you follow what was told by your franchisor? And
Every single thing.
Yep.
So everything I possibly could that I could remember and recall, I did that. So one of the things that really stuck with me was go out there and meet, I think it was one new person a day, and talk to them about your business. And so I remember going out to my local RSL, walking the streets, knocking on doors even, and just talking to people and just seeing if I could get that work from them. And being active and getting out there non-stop is something that you wouldn't believe how fast it can grow your business. And so I started with about 45 clients when I first got into it. And these clients were all at a pretty terrible price, if you ask me.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I did was, after I'd finished all my clients, which only took me about 3 days to do, I had a lot of spare time. So I didn't want to waste any time sitting on the couch watching Netflix. So I went out there and I organised some magnets, whatever I could afford at the time. And I did magnet drops for my first year. And I think I did about 6,000 or something like that.
6,000?
6,000, yeah, in my first year magnet drops.
Yeah.
And just a lot of people said, oh, it doesn't work. And I proved them wrong because I filled up all my days. I didn't have to worry about, sitting on the couch anymore, because not only was I doing the magnet drops, I was walking up to people's doors. I was sending through emails to all your body corporates and insurance agencies. And then I had all these jobs that just come at me, and I was like, how am I bloody going to keep up?
Mm-hmm.
And so time to get an employee.
And how long after you started did you put your first worker on?
6 months.
Okay.
6 months, yeah. So it was a bit of a struggle for that first 6 months, actually. I worked bloody hard. That whole year, actually, I worked hard. I think I took 8 days off in that first 12 months, and I'd taken on 613 leads for the year just from gyms.
Mm-hmm.
That's not including any of the externals,
Yeah.
like obviously your walk-ups, your phone calls from your referrals, body corporates and real estates. So I worked very hard, but I'm happy I did, because I am where I am now. And to me, you look back a year and a half, and it's just like, where's it gone? I don't see myself any differently to what I did a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
And I wasn't in the best financial position, and I didn't have a lot of time because I was always working. And to look a year and a half in the future and to see where I am, and a lot of these times I'm able to step back now in my position, and I spend a lot of time with my wife and my 2 daughters. And I just do the admin now, and I don't get on the tools all that much unless I need to go do a once-off or a first regular mow.
So how many people you got working for you now?
My wife's full-time, my brother's full-time. I've got my brother-in-law and my old man that do casual work, and I'm bringing on another full-time employee next week, because one that I had didn't work out on a trial run. But if I don't get someone bloody quick, I'm going to struggle.
Yeah, that's a problem a lot of our franchisees have, is finding good workers and all that sort of stuff. So
yeah,
it's an issue, but that's a pretty good business.
How many people have you tried out in terms of workers?
I've probably done about three different guys now for this trial, and it's that is the hardest thing about this business, trying to find good employees. I really struggle with it, and I do whatever I can, but I've found that for the moment I just keep on using family, because I know they won't mess me around.
How do you normally try to look for them, though? Do you post an ad, or what happens?
Yeah, so I did an ad on Facebook, which got me a few people interested and sent me messages over Messenger. But not only did it get me people over Messenger, it also helped build my business as well, because the ad I wrote was very well thought out, and I said, I do quality job and I want the best person.
So you got people wanting their jobs done too.
That's it. So I got a whole lot of work from it as well.
The whole selling by not selling thing, right?
Yep.
Exactly right. So we just had a bit of a disruption in the stream before, so we're back up to 75 people watching, which is great. So thanks for tuning back in. Make sure you leave your comment or question in there for Dan and Jim. It's a great night to do it, because we'll get to as many of them as we can. So I want to just talk a bit more about what you do, which I think was a little bit differently, I think people find hard in business, is you've gone from being an employee where you get a consistent wage every week, then all of a sudden, right, I'm in business myself, now I need to get active and actually do the things. You as a person, were you very confident in doing that, or was it something where, like the door knocking stuff, I know a lot of people might find that very tough to do. Were you naturally a very confident person?
Look, I've never really had an issue with confidence, I don't think. I'm able to talk to people and make connections with people quite easily, I find. I find that every single customer I talk to, I can always make a connection. and they always have a really good feeling and a good rapport with me because of that. And so I don't mind walking up to anyone's door. And, you know, you've got to say it without being rude that, you know, your grass is literally, I can't see. But you go up to it, and that's what I had to do at the very start. And as long as you're able to talk to people, you know, it's no dramas. So I've never really had an issue with that. Yeah.
So we've got a few comments and questions here. So we've got one, Elise Matthews says, why pay for leads when you don't get them? Well, you obviously take leads and you obviously do pay them.
So why pay for leads when you don't get them?
Why pay for leads when you don't get them? That was the question.
Okay. So for me, joining gyms was a very easy option. And I think the hardest thing about running a business, whether it be independent or franchise or whatever, is actually bringing that work in. It's very difficult. You can be able to do the work and you know, bring on employers or whatever, but you can't do anything if you're not making the sales. And so gyms does that for you. They bring that work in for you. So the hardest part's done. That's 50% of it.
What would you convert? Out of 10 leads, how many do you expect would come actually get your work out of?
Look, I'm probably at about 80% at the moment, I'd say.
Which is a good level. Yeah.
Yep. So I don't expect to win all of them. And look, I find that I do a very I'm very passionate about what I do, and I do a very good quality job. So I charge a bit more than what the average Joe Blow would. But I feel like it's not expensive, it's good value, because I know when I go up to that customer, I know when I see it, I'm the best man for that job. I personally know that, and my goal is to show that customer that I am the man for that job. And so that's what I'm trying to do that whole time. I'm trying to explain to them and get them to see it from my point of view, because I know how I'm going to make that job look, and I want them to be able to see that. And so that's why I think that I am able to bring so many customers on, because I do get them to see that I am the guy for the job. And even if they don't say yes right then and there, a lot of the time, like 50% of the time, if they've said no, they'll call me back because they've stuck with me. They know that I'm the best guy for the job, and they may have had a price issue or whatever, and they've got another gardener in and he's done a bad job, and they've said we should have gone with Dan in the first place.
So you hold firm in it. Yeah. When they haggle on, when they try and haggle you
Yep,
the price.
I know what I'm worth.
Actually, one of the funniest things, I quite often get complaints about terrible work that's being done. And the franchisee says, but they didn't accept my quote, they got somebody else, and that's why the job was bad. And somebody's like a 4.8 star rating, and that sort of, okay.
Yeah.
Actually, I think what Elaine was asking before was, why should you have to pay for a lead when you don't get it? In other words, if you can't convert it, if they reject you on price.
Well, to me, that's not your problem. That's our problem. If I don't get a lead, that's something on me. That's something I need to work on. That's nothing to do with Jim. Jim's done his job. He's found my work for me. I've got to be able to push that sale so that I can show him that message that I am the guy for the job. So I'm happy. And as I said, I took on 613 leads last year, and not one of them I regret doing. And I spent a lot of money on those leads, and it's really helped me out because I was able to convert a lot of those jobs over.
Yeah.
I think the thing about paying for leads that you don't convert is it's essential, because it's actually part of the incentive to convert.
Yeah, exactly.
And what we found is that when we didn't charge for leads, when we had a flat rate fee, very much lower portion were actually converted into jobs. Because people were taking jobs they didn't necessarily really want. But now they say, well, I've paid the money for it. I'm jolly well going to chase it up and make sure I get it. So you get a much, much higher conversion rate when you charge for leads, which is different from our competitors. They don't do that, other franchise systems. But we do, because it drives customer service. And it also means it drives work to the person who wants the job, rather than a person who simply can't be bothered turning themselves off for leads.
Yep. Look, I find with that, it's not a bad thing to not get the job. I don't think you should ever be scared of not getting the job. And the reason for that is because you're the person driving the sale. You know what you're worth. So if that customer's already got a price in their head and they've already valued you, they don't know what kind of job you're going to do. So you should never let the customer take charge of the quote. You should always say, this is what I'm worth. This is what it is. And if they don't see that, then that's on them. They've just lost the best gardener. They've come to the best brand, and that's why they've come to us, because we are the best out there. And I've said I'm the best gardener for this job. And if they don't get me, that's their loss.
And if everybody's saying yes to your quotes, you're too cheap.
Exactly.
Because we should be losing a few, because some people just want cheap.
Look, there are some people that do.
Either.
Yeah, exactly.
Never my philosophy either.
But I've found that you can, if you're able to sell them, a lot of people will compromise on price if they genuinely believe that you're going to do a quality job, you're reliable, and not going to mess them around, because that's what people are looking for. People are looking for someone that's just not going to mess them around. They just want their weekends back. They want their gardens to be done, whatever it is. They'll ask for lawn mowing, and while I'm there, I'll say, your gardens need to be done, your gutters need to be done, whatever it is. Hey, I don't need to worry about that anymore. I've got Dan here.
That's all the stuff that is they're taught to people, but we still have people who sometimes don't do it and they just want to do this and that. And yeah, but you followed it to the leader of the team. You can tell by your enthusiasm just by having you here.
Yep.
The clients are.
It's a very common problem with franchisees. It's one of the most common things I get is why should I pay for a lead I don't get? And I explained it in training and I explained it again. It's there because it's an incentive. We don't expect you to get your leads, all of them. We don't want you to get all your leads. But the system of lead fees is there because it encourages you to take the work you only take the work you want and to convert what you do get in the best possible way.
I think what you're saying, investment fee, right? That's how you're doing it. It's investment fee.
Yeah, exactly. I don't see it as an expense. I see it as an investment.
How long do you typically take between when the lead comes in and when you actually go and ring the client? What would be your average time?
Average 5 minutes. So as soon as I get it, I'm on the phone. I'm calling them. Sometimes it'll be 10 minutes, or if I'm on a job, you won't be able to hear your phone maybe half an hour. That's tops, and that's pretty rare. But 5 minutes, I get on there. They're already impressed because we've got a 2-hour call out time, which is already pushing it as it is. But I want to go above and beyond, and so they're impressed with my 5-minute call up. And then I usually have a 2-day turnover where the job's actually complete. But I'll do that quote either that day or the day after. And I'll go out there. They're impressed again. They haven't had to mess around. Again, they just want someone that's not going to, mess them around at all. Yeah. I'll go out there, I'll quote it. And a lot of the time, I'll do the job then and there.
It's great advice. I've got some questions coming in specifically for you guys. So I'm going to get to them now for the live feed. So thanks for people watching. We've got around up to 78 now, which is great. Up to 80, 78, which is awesome. We did have a stream interruption. So make sure you leave your comment and question in there. I'll get to it as best as we can. But we thank you if you've tuned back into the live stream. Some great advice being provided by Dan tonight. So Derek Spice, I think, is the Jim's Mowing franchisee as well.
Yeah, I know Derek. He emails me every couple of times a week.
Oh, there we go. How long does it take you to secure the job when face-to-face with the customer?
So it depends on how long I'm talking to that customer for, because as I said before I do any of the quote or any of the business, I want to find out about that customer because I want to know who they are. I want to know what their story is, and I'll tell them my story as well. So we're already on like a friend basis. So it just depends on what the customer wants to talk about. Obviously, I've got to keep in mind, I want to be efficient and not waste a whole day just talking to one customer. So I'll talk to the customer maybe for 5-10 minutes before I've given that quote. In the space of 10 to 15 minutes, that job's usually mine.
That's great. That's a great question and a good answer from you, Dan. Haydar Hussein's gone, good on you, Dan. Love to have you on my team. So Haydar's the Jim's Cleaning Group founder. So he's trying to pinch you, which is great. That's really
Thanks,
we try and grab the best people from every division and headhunt them, I must say.
Well, Shane Charmstrom from Cleaning as well as a franchisor makes a great point. He's gone, Dan makes a great point. Don't expect to win every quote from leads. If you are, then you are possibly too cheap. Yeah. It's, however, very important to show the client the value for money, which is clearly something you really do really well. So I've got another question here from a new franchisee in fencing, actually, which is specifically for Dan and Jim. So Stavrakis from Jim's Fencing has gone, hi, Jim and Dan. As a new franchise owner, just about to finish my 8 weeks training in fencing, which is great, so we need more franchisees there. If you had one tip for me, what would that be?
I would say don't get complacent and do anything you possibly can to get out there and get your name out and market it yourself. I'd say that's probably my biggest tip for you. Just don't be lazy. Get out there and push yourself as hard as you possibly can.
Mind you, he's fencing. Lack of work isn't going to be a problem.
So fencing's around, 60% unserviced at the moment?
It's a shocking unserviced rate. So you're not going to have a problem with lack of work. One thing I'd say to you is, and I know I say it all the time anyway, but every day, look at what you're doing and say, how can I do this better? Every day.
Yep.
And I'm sure Dan would look at it exactly the same way because you can always improve, and it's quite extraordinary. No matter how many times you improve what you do, you can always do better and better and better and better.
Well, that's a big reason as well why I've built my business. One of the things that I always think about every day is, to what you've said, I say my goal is to try and make tomorrow easier. That's been a big goal for me from the very start. I've said, what can I do today to make tomorrow easier? I can do this extra job that I've got there. I'm going to go do that job before I finish up. It's 5 o'clock. I've still got about half an hour worth of sunlight left. I'm going to go do that job. Tomorrow's easier. I do that every day. It doesn't matter if it's, doing jobs, doing admin, whatever it is. And I did that at the start, and I had very hard days at the start. And then every day just became a little bit easier. And then once I had that easy day where I had nothing on, I was like, all right, I know there's going to be more hard days coming up. what can I do to prepare myself for that hard day that's coming up to make it easier? And so that's when I started saying, let's get some employees, get 2 men are better than one. And let's get the best tools. Let's get the uniforms, look the part, do everything I possibly could to make that day easier. And now it's just easy days.
And that's a great bit of advice both you guys provide for your Polazoid. And in fencing as well, you can probably scale your business up to have a few employees very quickly. Because
we'd love you to do that because it's an embarrassment to lose so many fencing jobs.
That's great advice on these two. And Polazoid, my one tip would be to use your franchisor and to use Jim. Jim's not utilised enough by franchisees and franchisors. And if you have any questions or concerns, don't feel intimidated. Give him a call.
Well, Derek knows how easy I am to reach because he emails me a lot.
Yeah, yes, and he's emailed some through about the Jim's Mentors stuff, which was great, and we did mention that a lot in Jim's Mentors as well and Jim's Online. So I'll get through a few comments here which are coming through. Thanks for everyone leaving your comments or questions. Make sure you leave them in there for one of these 3 books here, which will be signed and chosen by Dan and Jim at the end of the night. So leave your comments and questions, and then we'll go through and announce the winner at the end. So Natalie Manning's gone, great story, Dan. Thanks. Following the system is so important. Thanks for sharing about employing staff. We use family members too. They are the best type. And someone's gone, #AskDan. Kieran Payne's gone, on you, Dan. Polo's always gone, yes, 28 leads in 2 days. I can't complain. 28 fencing leads in 2 days.
That is ridiculous.
28 leads in 2
That is
days.
unheard of.
I can't complain.
Oh, not in fencing, it isn't. It's we're really pushing to get fencing franchisees because it's an incredible division. I mean, mowing's great too, and I'd rather be a mower than a fencer. But in terms of the sheer volume of work available, fencing is unbelievable.
Well, if you get 28 in 2 days, that's ridiculous. And that means you should be able to build a very big, lucrative business.
Very quickly.
Very, very quickly. So maybe go back and watch how Dan's done it. And obviously,
whenever I talk to fencing franchisees at training, when having dinner with them and so forth, I always say the same thing. I hope you're going to build a big business. We need you to take leads.
There's a few questions here that have come through. So I'll get to one back up in the previous feed from Emily Mills left on one of the other pages. Make sure you leave them in the Jim's Group page so we can see them straight away. And she's gone, Jim, what is your favourite meme of you? So obviously there's Jim's memes. We had the whole competition around it, the logo comp, which you can still use on the website. But what was your favourite one?
There's quite a few. There's the one about the rat. I like that one.
Jim's rat, the favourite pet. Jim's pet was Jim's pet was the one, I think. Yep.
What else? Jim's space travel. I thought that was pretty good. Not something we intend to go into. It's a bit beyond my price bracket. I bought a pack for about 20,000.
Are you trying to become the new Elon Musk or something?
I admire him.
He's
It's a totally different universe to me, but I like them. It's really fun, actually. There was one this morning that
Jim's counter-terrorism, which was shared on the story.
With a milk crate and a chair. I thought those guys were fantastic. I love those blokes. I read all about them, Luke and the guy, his brother, and just tackling this bloke and bringing him down. I thought, isn't it great?
Take some serious guts.
Isn't it great to have heroes walking the streets? I just love that story. I love good news stories about people I can admire.
What about your one, Dan? Which one did you like of the memes?
Oh,
you submitted your own one.
My thing, I really like Jim's things. I don't know why. It may have been mine.
What was the tagline for it?
The tagline was, "We don't know what you want, but we know we can do it."
Yeah,
because we've got 56 divisions or something
like that.
Yeah, so there's pretty much nothing we can't do.
There's a lot of stiff competition. We had a lot of entries, and I think Jim picked 3. And the other one which Jim picked was I think it was like Snow White and the 7 gyms.
Yeah,
that was good. Had a bunch of gyms little around there, which is pretty cool. So I've got another question here from Danny Clark on one of the live feeds. So thanks for leaving the questions and comments, guys. As you can see, we're getting through a lot tonight, so put them in there. Danny Clark's gone, what is a tip for a new franchisee who's having difficulty with online leads where they can't contact the client? Danny, Southern Adelaide and Hills Jim's Cleaning.
Blindingly fast response. Really, really get on the phone fast. Online leads are great if you respond fast. They're terrible if you want to take your time. And that's one of the biggest lessons. I had a franchisee saying to me, actually contacted me to say, online leads are terrible, I don't want them. And I said, try getting back really, really, really fast. He emailed me 2 weeks later and said, Jim, that works.
What about you, Dan? What about online
Now, he
leads?
said that he can't get in contact with them.
Yeah, can't contact the client.
Call up the office. Because they'll be able to go through the voice recording and get the contact number or the email or whatever it is.
Yeah, it's surprising how often they get the phone number wrong when people do their own.
Yep.
It's not the office though; it's the person who doesn't know their own phone number.
Yes.
You get far more complaints, problems with phone numbers wrong when they write them in than when they give them to the actual staff.
And I've got a great question here for you, Dan. Jim will obviously be able to answer this as well. From you, Reno, he's gone, hey, Dan, why did you choose to grow a business to 6+ contractors or employees rather than do a split?
For me, it just made sense. So when you sell a split, usually you usually sell it for something about 10 times what it's worth. Some guys will do it for 9, some guys do it for 8, whatever it is. I found, why wouldn't I do that job 10 times and make that money anyways? Or, just put an employee on, they do it, 20 times. I've made the money back and I haven't even done it. So it was very easy, and that way I can keep on building my business. I keep those same customers, because you got to remember, you're not just making money off that lawnmower, you're also making money off all those once-off jobs that customer gives to you, plus the referrals that they give to you, because you're going to do a good job for them. They're going to get all their family, friends, whatever it is. There's a lot more than just that base price of lawn mowing.
What would you turn over in a year?
So in my first 12 months, I turned over a bit more than 300K.
As a 24, you're 24 then or 25?
24.
As a 24-year-old turning over 300K. We tell kids go to uni and do this and do that. And here we go. So if you're someone in the 20s or under 30s, I'm telling you now, you were sold a dream on the tech industry, but
mind you, Dan got very good training. McDonald's food is shocking, but sorry, but as a business, it's a great business model.
Yes, it is.
Train young people very, very well. If my kids want to go and put McDonald's, I'd say fantastic.
A lot of companies love seeing Macca's on a resume. I actually did that year there myself when I was younger as well.
Through Macca's, I got to give props to them. So I did my certificate 3 in retail. I did a diploma in business management through them as well. Cert 4 in supervision, management supervision. So there's a lot of training that goes through Macca's, and it's a very stressful work environment. I don't know if you've been into a Macca's on a Friday night around 6 o'clock, but it's very stressful. I'm telling you.
I used to be in the grill when I was younger. So back home, this was in Warrnambool, 14 and 9 months. So when you're 14 and 9 months, you get a job, right? So you're thrown in on the grill. Then obviously in Warrnambool, we're known for whales. So what happens during winter? All the tourists from Melbourne come down, and all of a sudden there's a big 80 people bus coming through, and you've got 2 people on the grill. So there you are, flipped. I know how hard it is, mate. I can completely relate.
So no, I'm used to stressful environments. So this is a walk in the park.
but the reason why, like I said at the start, of wanting you really on was as 24, I was just impressed. Someone at 24 having the maturity you do, the attitude you do, and make that money at 24. Because as young people now, you raise your kids and you say, well, I want them to go to uni. But uni doesn't mean look at the service industry. We all say it all the time. Mowing, cleaning,
I am astonished that people are so fixated on university, and the world is full of unemployed or underemployed graduates.
And this is coming from someone with a PhD who wanted to be an academic.
Yeah, I spent 12 years at university, and I was qualified to mow lawns for a living. I mean, I know what I'm talking about.
I'd also say to a lot of, I don't know if there's many young blokes watching right now, but there's a lot of stuff that we can do physically that a lot of the older blokes can't do, and I find that I can do. And even the franchisees that are in my region will ask me for a hand because they know that I can physically do those jobs. So if you're a young bloke and you're fit, there's a lot of money to be made. Yeah. So don't be scared to own your own business early. If you've got the brains for it, there's no reason why you can't.
Yeah, and obviously with the Jim's franchise, that gives you the extra chance for success.
Exactly. If you've got a big brand like Jim's behind you, where they support you and get the work from you, why not?
Cool. So I've got a few more questions and comments coming through here. So keep leaving your comments and questions in the live feed, guys. Make sure that the Jim's group one so we can see them instantly. 80 people watching live now, which is great. So 80 people watching us down the barrel. So we appreciate
Pump those numbers up. Come on.
We want to crack 100, but every time we have hate, if you want to crack 100, we just get hate on and go to 100. Yeah. All right. So Roger Bennett's going here. Dan, in my previous role, I was a recruitment specialist. I've been able to consistently find quality casual employees mowing with a specific ad that I created. If you're interested, I can send you the advert that sorts out the good employees from the tyre clickers. So, Mr. Roger Bennett, please send that through.
Hey, Roger, send it to me.
Send it to Jim.
Give it Jim.net and I will share it.
I'd be very interested.
We love good ideas.
Jim@jims.net.
Jim at Jims.net.
There you go,
send
Roger.
it to me.
We appreciate doing that. So, Connor King's gone on the live feed. What was the first Jims? Which was...
First division.
Maybe first division, but do you remember your first franchisee? Maybe we'll talk about that.
No, there was a whole bunch of them who came through at once because I had been selling lawn mowing rounds, and so the best people who bought lawn mowing rounds from me, and the best of my subbies, I just asked them if they wanted to become franchisees, and there was about 6 or 7 of those. So it just happened very, very fast. I know one of the first was a guy called Andrew McIntosh, who had bought a round from me a year earlier, and we got on really well. He's a great young bloke. But just fantastic character, and so I really tried to get him on board and got him on board as one of my first ones. He became one of my first trainers to show other people how to do it. Later on, became a franchisor. He started a new division, which was fencing, which is now going obviously very well. And he's done incredibly well in life. He's a multi-millionaire. He's got all sorts of nurseries and a construction company. I'm immensely proud of that, actually. I am really stoked at how many people have started off just pushing a lawnmower around and now are independently wealthy. It's fantastic.
There's a lot of good stories.
And cleaners and people who wash dogs and all the rest of it. They've done so well.
It's a great start in business.
Yeah.
So Patrick Butler's gone for the question here, and this is a great one for both you guys. Any tips on getting customers to pay on time? It's a real struggle. Most customers do pay when they want to pay, you obviously, but you don't want to lose the customer, but having to wait for a payment sucks. Was this comment in question?
All right. So that's something I deal with quite often. Now, what I would say is, I don't usually try and push the customer too much to pay. So I'm not overly strict on it. And at any one time, I could have up to 20 grand waiting just in payments from my customers.
Really? Okay. Wow.
So look, for me, a lot of guys will tell you differently, and I'm probably going to get a lot of bad feedback for this. But if it's anything like 2 months or so, that 2 to 3 months, I start getting a bit worried then. I don't really stress about it though. It just depends on how much money you got in the bank as well. So if you've got a lot of money in the bank and you're not waiting, you can pay your mortgage, you can pay your bills, and your customers aren't going to mess you around. If the people are going to mess you around, get onto them straight away. But you should know your customers, and you should know if they're that kind of person. It's really just up to you. I'd say try and put some money in your bank, and then take it from there, because I wouldn't want to piss off your customers as so just because they haven't paid a week earlier.
I had very few customers ever stiff me. They don't tend to stiff the mowing guy. It's just not the kind of thing you do. Maybe a big corporation, but not a guy that you know who makes a living mowing lawns. So I never worried about it. I think actually, sometimes I know the franchisees will demand the money up front for a job before they'll do it for a new customer.
Yeah.
Which I find it's very insulting.
I can't do that, yeah.
Because it's like you're saying you don't trust them. I mean, for heaven's sake, you're going to their property. It's not as though they can run away and rip up the whole house and move. Well, actually, unless they're moving out, I suppose. But I think you can be too anal about collecting money straight up front. I'd rather just give an incredible job and just build them and just maybe remind them if they haven't paid, but not worry too much about it.
Look, I haven't had to take too many people to the debt collectors either, but the debt collectors, that's their job to worry about that. So I use Repaid, I'm pretty sure I use, and there's no mess around. They deal with the whole lot for me. Just leave it to them, and not a lot of you people are really going to stop you around, especially if you know your customers.
No, it's a great point. And thanks for that question. That was really good. So questions and comments, leaving through. We've got 70 people watching, 75 now, which is great. Leave your question and comment. Dan's providing a lot of great business advice, and also Jim. So ask some questions there. So we've got one comment here from Kieran Payne. On you, Dan. Always an inspiration. He was my mentor back at McDonald's, and he has so much knowledge to share. Yeah. So that's great to hear, and he obviously is. So we've got you here with a question. I like the new Jim's mowing hat you have on display on the poster behind you. It provides sun protection for your neck and a face. Is it a dust mask to stop the pollen and dust when mowing? And is it a hard hat against the magpies or stones that get flung up while mowing? You can comment whatever you want to take it. You obviously knows Jim's a big Star Wars fan, and you're quite happy when you ripped that one out today. And we got a picture of it.
Yeah, I love Star Wars. I reckon my great hero is Emperor Palpatine. I think he's my role model. Rule the galaxy, that's what I say.
Let's see, rule the franchising empire, which we're already doing, so it's all good.
Wouldn't it be cool if we could get LED or someone like that to make up one of those masks with a Jim's Mowing logo on it or something like that?
I'll tell you what, it's we got something. I've got a gift plan for Jim, which is not that, but similar with that. But I think that'd be a good idea. Yeah, definitely.
I'll buy one.
Would you buy one? So I've got some questions and comments here from a couple of weeks prior as well, which I'm going to get through now, which is really relevant having you on here. Beck Ham went 1 week. She went, can you please discuss the competitive marketplace in mowing and why someone should join Jim's rather than go independent? ? That was a question for both, yeah.
Well, the marketplace isn't that competitive, actually. It really isn't. The biggest thing we've noticed in recent years is the demand for our services is growing faster than we can grow our franchisees to cope with it. It's our biggest single issue. As we get better, as our complaints go down, I don't think it's competitive at all, because I think most people do pretty shoddy service. Their jobs aren't that good. They don't ring back. They don't turn up on time. If you can go away and be halfway decent, you can do incredibly well.
I think the statistics with independents of joining a franchise is just a no-brainer, really.
Well, the best figures that we've got suggest that 90% of people in independent mowing businesses fail in their first year. With us, the figure is 11%. And when I say fail, by the way, I mean they're not gyms. So some of them have gone independent, which does sometimes happen. So it's actually less than 10% who would actually fail.
What about you, Dan? Would you ever consider doing an independent thing at the start, or what?
Look, for me, gyms was a no-brainer for me.
Right.
And even as I'm growing and I'm, obviously getting a bit bigger with my business, people are saying, "Oh, why do you want to stay with gyms? Why do you want to pay those fees?" And still, it's a no-brainer. I'm not planning on leaving anywhere because, as I said before, the hardest part of our business is bringing that work in. And I've got this bloke here doing it all for me. So why would I change that?
Your fees would be less than 1% anyway, wouldn't they? Really, at your level.
Yeah, it's barely anything. So, I'll have months where I'm turning over 30 grand and, my fees are like 1,200 or, it's nothing.
Yeah. Because how do you find that as an attitude? Because it's an attitude that obviously comes a bit, why keep paying fees or why pay fees? How do you view the fee itself? Like, you view it, like, what do you get for that fee that in your mind? What do you feel you get for the fee?
Well, I get my lifestyle that I'm living. That's how I see it. I don't have to chase down work for myself, so I've just saved myself a lot of time. But also, this has kind of gone back to that question you just asked before, but I think it was by Beck, was it? Or?
Yeah, Beck Ann, one of the previous ones.
So with the gyms brand behind you, so even with me doing all these magnet drops and going to the real estates and word of mouth and whatever it is that I market myself and how I get my work, I wouldn't get half of it if it weren't for the gyms brand behind me because they know that it's a trustworthy brand. So if I was just Dan Cahill going out there with Dan Cahill Mowing, those jobs would not come to me, and it's because of that gyms brand that I'm getting them.
Yeah, that's a great point. I've got a question here from Ben Ward on the live feed. Ben Ward was a previous guest. He's a regional franchisor in Geelong. So he's gone, great advice regarding debtors or slow payers. Treat clients well, majority will pay. It is great to see such a positive franchisee. What was his thoughts leading into induction training about how it would be versus how it was? Which is a great question.
Okay, so we're talking about the 6 days of training that I did?
Yeah. So maybe with your perceptions before it, but then actually after you did it.
Yep. So really, I thought I was going in there to learn how to mow a lawn. So, I was like, why am I? What's the point of this? But I think 3 days of it or something was like just learning how to run a business, and there's just so many different things to it that you've got to take into account for. So I wasn't expecting anything like it, and I sure as hell wasn't expecting Jim to do the very first lesson for us.
The ethos session, yeah.
And also the last. So I had my notepad down there, taking down as much as I possibly could. I had the video camera out, taking photos of the board, so because it was too much to write down. But there's just so much that I got from that, and I'd say those 6 days, rather than sitting there and twiddling your pen on the table, take it all in because I'm still using that stuff to this day, and that's why I am where I am.
That's a great attitude. And the ethos, the first session Dan's talking about, is actually on our YouTube channel. It's a podcast as well. So we want you to come to training, but if you want to see what's a little bit of a taste, give it a watch.
It's an interesting thing, actually. People very rarely fail for lack of technical knowledge. In fact, I can't think of a case, but they fail for lack of business nous and business sense and following up clients and having high standards. And
that's it. Anyone can mow a lawn. Like I know 8-year-olds in my neighbourhood that are mowing the lawns. So it's nothing really to it. The brush cut, blow, mow. But running a business, that's where it all comes down to it. So we know you can walk the walk, is how I see it. My thing is, can you talk the talk? And so talking the talk, getting your customers on, communication is key. That's what it's all about, running this business.
What about meetings? You go to meetings?
Yeah, I go to all my franchise meetings. Yeah.
Why? What do you get out of them? Tell me, because you'd be one of the best there.
I don't shut up. No, look, those meetings, they're brilliant for me. That's networking for me. So I go out and I talk to as many different franchisees as I possibly can. So I try and talk to like 3 or 4 of them at each meeting until I get around to the whole lot, which is quite a few in the region I'm in at the moment. It also gives me a chance to talk face to face with my franchisor.
Stuart.
Yep.
Stuart Rainbow, yeah?
Yep. And just talk to him about anything that I have any concerns with. You can't really talk over the phone. But yeah, that networking is really where it's at, because a lot of these guys, I've only been in it for 18 months, so I'm pretty new to this. They'll have ideas that I haven't thought of. Yeah. And so I'm ready to absorb anything in. So I want to know what these guys know that I don't. And that's why I go to it. And there's a lot of things that I've learned from a lot of these older blokes that have been doing it for quite a while. So I'd recommend going to every single meeting because you learn something every single time.
That's awesome. So if you're a franchisee watching, you don't go when you just go.
I wish I had that training when I first started off. I had to learn so much from trial and error. And then when I started having a franchisees and learning from them, I thought, wow, there's so much I did wrong.
And one of the other things with it is I was networking, but I've made these connections and these friends as well. And so one of the things that I do now is I have this thing where I no matter what, I don't say no to work. So it doesn't matter where they are in the state, I'll say yes to it. And the way I get around it is I'll call up for the nearest franchisee to that area. I'll tell them to go out and quote that job for me. And then that's their job. They can quote it however they like. and I'll put my administration fee on the top of it. So anywhere in the state, I've probably got about seven franchisees that do it for me at the moment.
Really? Wow.
Yep, a few of them, do a couple of different jobs
That's
each.
great.
So I just don't say no to these jobs. And in my region, if I already know that person, then it's even easier because I can say, Justin, mate, can you go out and do this job for us?
That's awesome. That's a great attitude to have. And hopefully,
What administration charge do you put on it?
It just depends. It depends on what the job is. So if it's a big once-off job, you can probably it's a difference between $100 or $20. So it just depends on what type of job it is. So
it's great to hear. So Simon Grimer's gone here with a comment. Hi guys, I'm currently going through the process of becoming a handyman franchisee. Finished my 3 days training last week, and my wife and I are chomping at the bit to get started. Thanks for the inspiration, Dan. So it's been great. It's been great so far.
Thanks, mate.
A lot of work in handyman too.
There is
and we need more.
And the divisionals are hard at work. He's right behind the camera, which you can't see. Archie hood up the back there, so he's up there jarring work. Alistair Turley's gone with a question. So Alistair Turley, Sunderland. Hi guys, any advice for a 23-year-old wanting to get into a fencing franchise but apprehensive about income stream and the ability to perform quality work with no experience from the rail industry?
Well,
Cheers.
fencing training is very good. It's 8 weeks, very practical on-the-job training, and honestly, it's great. We will not allow people from other divisions to build fences because they muck them up. Fencing franchisees very, very rarely mess up a fence. So the training is very good. You can learn absolutely from scratch. You've got a trade at the end of 8 weeks. And of course, as things are right now, there's an incredible amount of work, more than any other division. There's unserviced leads. So it's a brilliant business. Look, the thing about fencing, it's very physically hard. You're lifting stuff all the time, so you need to be fit.
Drilling the holes and stuff.
Drilling the holes and stuff. It's a physically arduous job, but it's a brilliant division.
Well, I can say I'm not sure about how fencing division works, but for mowing division, you've said you're a little bit worried about your income stream. For mowing, another thing that got me over the line was that it's a guaranteed $1,500 a week that you get paid as long as you're taking on the leads. So is that something similar that they do in fencing, or?
The same thing, except nobody in fencing has ever claimed this to my knowledge because
it's fencing.
They get flooded with work. We're trying to get enough fences right now. We've got a big campaign going to get enough so that we would love one day to be able to pay paperwork guarantee, but so far we've never had to pay it.
People think we think unserviced is good, but it's not, because they call us up, they won't call us again.
If one person in four is saying we can't get the job done, they're not so likely to call gyms again. It's a big problem with the public. We just can't.
They paint you with the same brush.
Yeah, correct.
So it doesn't matter if one franchisee. So the way I look at it, when I go out and quote a customer, I'm the face of gyms right then and there. I'm that only contact that they have with gyms. So I want to make sure that I'm representing gyms' brands.
Which is why we love people who take so many leads. It's fantastic for the business because the fact of the matter is the people that have been knocked back because they can't get fencing done, they probably haven't called for mowing or antennas or dog wash or computer services or pest control because they've had such a bad experience. Naturally, sometimes it's heart-rending. People just say they really, really, really want to use gyms, but they just can't. They don't mind waiting. They don't mind what it is. We just got nobody to take the job. It's so frustrating.
We need more franchisees. So don't be scared. The income stream's not an issue. Get into it.
That's it. Great advice. So I've got a question here from Ricky Jurgens on one of the other pages. So Ricky Jurgens, I think, is from Mobile Cafe, actually. I've been reading through my husband's Eric from Jim's Mobile Cafe Victoria franchise.
Eric's been out here all last week doing coffee.
With Ricky
very,
as well?
very nice. Oh, yes, and Ricky
Ricky's
too.
the lady there. Yep,
Really nice hot chocolate, but not very good if you're dieting because it's very full of cream and stuff.
Exactly right.
Very nice.
So as I'm thinking about joining the Jim's family in dog wash, it mentions that franchisees can contact Jim directly if their franchisor's response or outcomes are unsatisfactory.
Oh, yes.
My question is, does Jim get many of these calls from franchisees? That's a really good question.
No, not many actually. Most franchisors do the right thing these days because franchisees can contact me so easily that they're very...
They know it, yeah.
Yeah. I have to say most of the time these days, if a franchisee contacts me with a problem with the franchisor, the problem is more with the franchisee. But sometimes we do have serious issues. We have cases where a franchisee will contact me and say, there's an issue, and then I find there is, and we'll actually move on it. And sometimes actually the franchisor is gone within a few weeks if they're really not doing the right thing. Or people getting, we had a couple of cases in dog wash actually, where just recently, where they hadn't been given the full 2 weeks warning before they signed the contract. And I discovered that, and we did checked it down, and I said to the franchisor, you got to give them the money back. You cannot do it. So they got a full refund.
I think the way everything works, Ricky, like national staff, we know as well. We know that at any time a franchisor or
Yes.
whoever we deal with can go to Jim and then we can get in trouble straight away. Or Jim
I know
will
somebody
run on the
complains
phone.
about insurance, for example. I have my phone and I walk down to the insurance office, and the admin knows that. So
When I was in there, I remember you walking in there. Hey, what's this thing about this claim? And the franchisee or the customer, whoever's on the phone on speaker, and it's like, all right there and then.
it's really quite scary, isn't it? The same thing,
Yeah.
but every franchisor knows that. They know that they've got to do the right thing by the franchisee, because the biggest problem I have is getting franchisees to contact me when they need to. And sometimes they delay. People often say, oh, I know you're so busy. No, there's no job that I do that's more important than dealing with the franchisee and helping with the problem. And I love to do that.
Yeah, I think that's the message we really need to keep pushing on. This is basically interrupt Jim. Do not interrupt him.
Yeah.
Call his number.
I had a great conversation. I started to ring up franchisees on their anniversaries.
Yes.
And I was ringing one guy just on Friday last week who was just hit 10 years. And I had a discussion with him, and what we figured out is he should be doing more gutter clearing, because it was a great job. We were talking about gutter clearing and how much money you could make. Like you can make $250 to clean out a single-story gutter, which is really good money. I mean, it takes you less than an hour. And so what I actually did, because he's in Canberra, I actually created a whole range for him in his all areas to do gutter clearing, and just the more narrow local areas to do his other jobs. And we're just talking about how we could do it, the kind of equipment that could be used, and there's gadgets that you can get. It costs about $7,000 where you can clean them with, and just gutter vacs, yeah, and just the potential of the business. It's a fantastic business, and it really hurts. I actually showed him how many gutter clearing jobs we'd lost. So that was like a half-hour conversation, but in a way that was almost the high point of my week. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
You do gutters, you love gutters.
Gutter cleaning is my favourite job, actually.
There we go.
So I've tried to organise deals with the franchisees around me to give me their gutter jobs.
Yeah. I want to get to another question.
And then repeat it, because as he said, you repeat them every 6 to 12 months anyway. So it's not just the fact that it's a great job, but it's a great ongoing job. And if you had a job where you were just clearing gutters, which is physically very easy, this guy was in his 50s and he was concerned that down the track he might not be able to work so hard. I said, you clean out gutters, and you can making yourself, $4,000 or $5,000 per week doing easy jobs. What a fantastic way! What a fantastic business! And if you ever want to sell that business, how great would that be? It'd be worth a fortune.
Oh, it'd be fantastic. Yeah, as I said, gutter cleaning is my favourite job, and if anyone from my region is watching, turn yourself off for gutters, because I want them.
We're going to get Jason back up. We're going to get Jim to use the
just
force
another
now.
thing
It's
too, and I said the same thing to you. Why don't you have a special gutter strike force and take gutters for the whole rest of Melbourne? Because we are going to get so many. We're going to lose hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of gutter clearing jobs, especially during spring. We cannot cope with them. If you could take them on, why not?
Please, yeah.
And what you can do, you set yourself up so your local areas what you normally take.
Yep.
And you set up an all area which is everywhere.
It'd be like 100 kilometres.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then you can charge like $500 to clean double-story gutter. It's fantastic money. It's such a lost opportunity. It really kills me to see.
It's money for jam.
It
It's
is.
very easy.
I used to love clearing gutters. I mean, I used to do it very unsafe. I get up on the roof and put my foot in the gutter, and you weren't allowed
Not
to do
now,
it these
not
days.
now.
Not now, not allowed
Yeah.
to.
No.
But it was such great money. I loved it. And smashing blocks.
So I've got a question here from Luke Robinson. I presume the Trees franchisee, so thanks for watching. How come there's not many Jim's Trees crews around as I cover from Pakenham to the Vic border through Gippsland, and I'm starting to get leads into the Dandenongs? Is there an issue with the tree crews?
We just don't have enough franchisees like so many other divisions. We just don't have enough franchisees. We aren't looking at ways of doing things. To be honest, what we're doing is we're taking the price of the franchise down because there's so much work these days. It's crazy to charge as much as we do. So they're becoming a bit more affordable. We're working on forms of vendor terms. We're looking at better ways to sell franchises. We're doing everything we can to cope with this problem because we've been so successful in finding work. We're growing. Our franchise numbers are still growing. We actually hit an absolute peak this year, but not fast enough.
Yeah, and we're in a great position as a company where lead gen's not really an issue.
That's right.
It's the franchisee numbers, and that's the people to do the work. We've got the work.
That's it. We've got too much of it.
That's it.
Bring on the franchisees.
Which is, again, why our franchisees are our number one clients. I mean, even more than the clients out there, it's the franchisees we've got to keep happy.
That's it.
That's the secret of it all.
And g'day, Josh, for tuning in. One question here. So this is regarding complaints. I think you guys, I don't think we've asked this one before, so I want to get it in. 80 people watching now, which is great, so thanks for hanging around this long. Jason Morrison asked us before, what happens if you get a customer who you can't satisfy and then she puts in a complaint?
So what I do is if I've got a customer that I can't satisfy and I've done everything that I possibly can, I call up the office first, let them know what the issue is with that customer, put a note down on the system.
That's great advice.
And then that usually stops it from going from there, because if that person gets to the gym first, you're already on the back foot. So you look bad and you have to try and explain yourself. You get in there first. As soon as it happens, Jim sees everything that's happened. He knows the storyline. He'll say, mate.
Have I ever deleted complaints for bad service for you?
Yes, you have. Yes.
How many?
You did. I think you've done 3 for me. So one of them was a bit more of a serious one, but the other ones were. They said that. What was it? One of them was I charged too much, which got changed to price survey.
Yes. Any indication the price is a problem, immediately change to price.
Yep. One of them said that I didn't contact him, which I did, and I'd sent through 3 messages to that person and called and voicemailed. I'd sent that through to you, got deleted. And the other one was I'd gone to one of my regulars' jobs, and this is when I was new to the business, done a whole bunch of garden cleanups for her, like $150 a pop or whatever it was, and she got me to do this 8 times or something like that. And on the last time, she cracked it at me and said, "This isn't good enough. I'm going to get someone else in, and they're going to pay for. They're going to do the whole lot, and you're going to pay for it." And so you actually jumped in and you said, "Well, no, you've said, yep, you paid that $150, you paid that $150. You kept on calling Dan back. So therefore, you've accepted the job. Dan shouldn't have to pay for it. All he should really have to pay is that last $150, which you weren't happy with. And so you got rid of that one for me as well, which saved me a lot of money."
Which is great to clarify this stuff, because we do say it every week about how you deal with complaints, and Jim deletes the surveys himself. Maybe you want to talk something about, you're going to introduce Jim with the 5-star surveys, messages and stuff. The 5 in a row.
Yeah, we're doing that. But I had a franchisee today. In fact, I deleted a bad survey for him, and I counted up. He'd had 40 5-star surveys since he started. 40, not one survey below 5 stars. I thought that was amazing. I just said, unbelievable!
Wow.
Exclamation mark. So I deleted the survey, the bad one, which he really didn't deserve, because it was so clearly not his fault in any way. And then I just said, unbelievable, 40 5-star surveys in a row.
We're up to 90 people then watching, so thanks for 90 people tuning in. That's really great. We nearly got to the 100, which is awesome. But I was going to say, that's a great bit of advice you said. So complaint, call them up, the call centre.
I love deleting complaints. I really do. And especially if you've got a franchise who's got a great record, and you look at it and you think, well, is that reasonable? And very often it just is so obvious that the client's just done the wrong thing.
So we had a question from Josh for you, Dan, actually. Have you ever had a customer that bad that you had to tell them that they were wrong?
Yes, I had a customer nearly kick my head in, actually.
Ooh,
yeah, so it was very serious, actually.
Okay.
And so I think this person had a mental disorder or something like that.
Okay.
And so I was walking on eggshells. I called up Jim straight away, told him the situation. They'd red flagged this person.
Yeah.
Called up the insurance company that person was through. As I said, I think they had a bit of a mental disorder.
Okay, wow.
So yeah, you got to watch yourself out there. Not everyone is, sunshine and roses.
Yeah.
Look, the great majority of clients are fantastic. They really are. But you get a few bad eggs. And I do not believe the customer is always right. I know people say that, but it's absolutely not true. Sometimes the customer is dead wrong. I had a call this afternoon from a franchisor about a particular issue with a client and making all sorts of threats about social media. It was so obvious this person was trying to take a rise out of this guy. I said to the franchisor, to Nigel, I said, just support him. Support your franchisee. I'm absolutely certain. I mean, they were complaining about things like the colour of the mulch. And he'd offered to go back and change the mulch over. It was, the complaints were completely ridiculous. And I said, you support him 100%, and so will I.
Yeah, it's a great point. It's great to have Dan on to tell us those stories. So we just ticked over the 8 o'clock mark. I know that Jim wants to keep these things in an hour.
I promised my family I'd take him out to dinner.
Exactly right. Lifestyle. We've got to get off the gym dinner. We're up to around 80 people plus. So thanks everyone who tuned in. There was an interruption in the stream. We're going to put it together and re-upload it tomorrow. But thanks to everyone who got back in, and the numbers actually went up more than the actual initial stream, which is awesome. Thank you, Dan, for coming on. Thank you for Melissa for hanging around, his lovely wife who's off camera there. Make sure you follow Jim on all his social media platforms, which is at the Jim Penman on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Obviously, Jim's Grip Official. on Instagram, YouTube as well. This will be uploaded again. Great bit of some really great advice from Dan. So if you are a franchise owner or anyone in business in general, this replay is probably a great one for you to, as a new business owner or franchisee, to really watch and absorb from Dan. And I'm sure if you see Dan around, say g'day and Jim in the Chelsea area, but you've got crews all around, and we'll make sure we give that merch for Andrew Bogut. So let's see who never knows with that.
Yeah. And if any of you guys have any extra questions for me, I'll leave my email in one of the comments.
That's awesome.
So you can email me through any questions you have.
Yeah, and thanks to that, all the advice. It's been really, really awesome. That's why I wanted to have you on, with just the enthusiasm and all the practical tips you're great, which franchisees and owners of business in general can implement straight away. So we really appreciate your time coming on. And I know you prepared some notes too, which is great. You come on with prepared. It was awesome. So thanks as well, Jim. And Jim's off to dinner. So next week, 7 o'clock, we're going to have a special guest. So I'll work out during the week who we're going to get on. We've had our first franchise owner, which has been awesome. So maybe another franchisee. Who knows? We'll get onto it. But until next week, thanks for everyone who tuned in. And 7 o'clock Wednesday night.
Running books away.
Oh, sorry, the books. Gee whiz, I forgot. All right. Sorry, they're all there. We're all in shambles at the moment because they're throwing me off foot. All right. So I picked the fencing guy Polizoi. I thought that was a great comment about he's a new franchisee in fencing. So for me, it's going to be Polizoi. Now, which question?
I was going to pick that one too.
Well, you can pick Polizoi. So Polizoi for you. I have another one lined up. What about you, Dan? Was there any question or comment?
I reckon I'd love to see this one here.
All right. So that's for you, Polizoi from Jim.
You've got the other one, the Jim's book from training, but this one here is really great. It's a good book. Very interesting. Even to me, interesting because. Was
there a question or comment? Yeah, actually, because you're still learning stuff, probably. Yeah.
I really like the one from I can't remember what her name was, about fencing and whether or not she should get into it.
Alistair. Yeah, the 23-year-old one.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. And that's a great question because you're obviously 24 when you started, so we want more young people on. And I'm going to pick through there. I'm going to run through there on the feed just real quickly. There's some questions or comments. Derek Spice. I think Derek Spice. He obviously takes advantage of using you all the time, which is great.
Hasn't Derek got everything?
No, he doesn't. I have it. I don't think you have everything, Derek.
Oh, okay.
But I'll get you something, Derek, because we want people to email and
yeah, it's good to hear from you, Derek. I know you email me a lot, but you've got some good ideas, and I don't always agree with them, but still.
But I love that type of interaction, but we'll get those to you. So once again, we'll leave it there. And thanks for reminding me, Jim. I nearly forgot. Next week, Wednesday, 7 o'clock, Australian Eastern Standard Time, by the Jim's Group page. And until next week, have a good week, and I'll see you then.
See you later.
Thanks, guys.